Alright guys, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys a few of my favorite tips to help increase your deadlift. Me personally, I've increased my deadlift around 200 pounds in just under 2 years.
Nick, let's go! Get this up!
So I've seen crazy strength gains in my deadlift. It's definitely become one of my better lifts and my favorite lift. So I'm gonna give you guys a few tips. Hopefully they help you not make the same mistakes that I did in the beginning. If any of these tips have helped you guys, please let me know in the comment section below and make sure to subscribe and like the video. So in no particular order, let's get started. Alright, so the first tip I have when deadlifting is not to jerk the bar when you lift it up. At the bottom of the lift, what you want to do is take the slack out of the bar first and then just pull. You see a lot of people, they go up to the bar, they're all hyped up, they're all angry. They go down, they just grab the bar, their arms aren't straight, and then they just lift it up and just like jerk the bar. I'll show you an example of that. So they get hyped up, they go down, their arms aren't straight, and they just friggin' So obviously the first thing that does is rounds your upper back at the bottom of the lift. That obviously puts you in a bad place to start the deadlift. It'll make the lockout a lot harder. It'll put a lot of pressure on your spine, which could cause injury. It could also cause some neck injuries because you're whipping the bar up so fast. Secondly, when you jerk the bar off the ground really fast, it'll give whip to the bar. So the bar will come up really fast at first, but then once you get past your knees, the bar will whip back down and that'll pull you forward and leave you in a bad position to lock out. The proper way to do this is to take the slack out of the bar beforehand and then just pull the weight up. For example, have your arms straight. Almost try and pull it up before, and that'll help take the slack out, and then just pull. This kind of brings me to my second point, is to stay tight throughout the lift. A lot of people think the deadlift is just lower back, a little bit of hamstrings, but it's honestly a full body movement. You need to make sure your whole body is stable before you do the lift. A lot of people just walk up and just try and pick it up, but you need to breathe out and really flex your core. That's where a lot of your power is going to be generated. Also make sure your shoulders are in place as well. You don't want them rounding forward. You want to keep them back and down throughout the whole movement. I know you see a lot of people deadlifting who will like bring their arms like this, and that's pretty much what they're doing is just locking their shoulders into place and trying to hold that position throughout the lift. So doing those two things specifically, squeezing your core really tight and keeping your shoulders locked, it'll help you keep a neutral spine position throughout the lift and will allow you to keep adding pounds to your deadlift. The third tip I have is to keep your hips a little lower at the beginning of the lift. A lot of people have their hips really high in their starting position. That makes it almost like a stiff leg deadlift, so they have to use their lower back and their hamstrings a lot more than they need to. So this would be an example of a high hip position. As you can see, my back is almost totally flat and parallel to the ground. That's definitely not what you want because that requires more lower back and hamstrings, whereas you want to use some leg drive as well during the deadlift. A better thing would be to start your hips down lower, so bring your butt down. You want your spine almost at a 45-degree angle. That'll just help make the movement easier and allow you more leg drive. So instead of like this, hips down more and go. It also makes the lockout a lot easier because the bar isn't so far in front of you. So tip number 4 would be to keep your lats tight as well. Same thing when you're benching, you bring your elbows in and engage your lats a lot more. That's just a general rule to bring the bar closer to you, so it's easier to lock the deadlift out. So engaging your lats almost goes with locking your shoulders in as well. You want to make sure they're back and down, and then you're almost bringing your elbows in a little bit. That'll help you give you that extra little power at the top of your lift. Another tip in the deadlift would be to make sure your knees and your hips lock out at the same time. You see a lot of people who will lock their legs out first, and that causes them to hitch the weight. You want to make sure it's in sync as you're bringing it up. Your hips come through as your legs straighten as well. I'll just show you an example of what not to do versus what to do. So a lot of people will lock their legs out first, and that'll cause them to pitch the weight up instead of just making sure that they lock out at the same time. So your hips come through as your legs lock as well. Another tip would just be to experiment with a whole bunch of different ways to deadlift. There's a whole bunch of different stances, a different grip, different programs, different reps, different sets. There's a lot of different things you can do. You just gotta find what's right for you because everyone's different. Some people with shorter arms like to do a sumo deadlift. It makes the range of motion a lot shorter for them. For me, I have pretty long arms and short legs, so I have like conventional deadlift. Some people like to hold the bar wider or more narrow. Some people like a mixed grip. Some people use straps. Some people like a linear progression program versus a conjugate program. And it just honestly depends on you because everyone's different. This isn't so much a tip as it is just an observation. Obviously, as you get heavier, you're gonna be able to deadlift more weight. For me, in the first video where I deadlifted 420 pounds, I was around 190 pounds, and now I'm around 215. So obviously, just the gaining of muscle mass and even a little bit of fat will help you add pounds onto your deadlift as well. Also good to that is just time, just experience under the bar, experience with the form, experience with the weights. Also just the mental barrier and just being more confident in the lift. The deadlift is kind of a scarier movement compared to other ones because you do go a lot heavier than a lot of other movements generally. Usually it's loud, so everyone's probably watching in the gym. You just gotta get over that as you go and just get more confident with the lift. Perfect your form over time because it will not just happen overnight. Like it took me 2 years to go from 420 pounds to deadlifting 620 pounds. Obviously that's a huge jump in only 2 years. The thing with me is I just started deadlifting later. I had the strength to maybe pull 500 pounds, but because of my form and my grip strength and just not knowing how to deadlift, I can only deadlift 420 pounds. Whereas if my form was perfect, I knew everything I know now, I could probably deadlift maybe 500, 520 pounds. So that would only be like a 100-pound jump in 2 years, which isn't as crazy as 200 pounds. It's like with anything in life, it just takes experience and you'll just get better as you go on. My next tip would just be leave the ego at the door. Everyone wants to come in and I know everyone's excited to deadlift, they want to throw on a lot of weight, but there's times for that and there's times where you have to lower the weight, do the volume and do the repetitions. That'll help you perfect your form, it'll help you get in the groove, it'll help you get stronger overall. The saying is build strength, not test it. So you're not going to want to go as heavy as possible in the gym every day doing the deadlift. You need to scale back and get on a proper program. So you want to have a program you just make yourself or you can just find one online. Usually strength programs are based on your percentage of your 1 rep max. So let's say you deadlift 300 pounds. You're not going to go in the gym and try and deadlift 300 pounds every week. You're going to be working like the low 200s for sets of maybe 3 sets of 6 or something like that. You want to scale back and you want to get the reps in. That's the most important part. So another tip would just be the shoe that you wear when you're deadlifting. What you should be wearing is either bare feet or like a flat-toed shoe like this. These are Converse. You can also get Vans or just any shoe with like a flat rubber sole. You can see it's consistent all the way through. It's hard and it's stable compared to like a Nike shoe like this. The sole is all uneven. It's higher at the back than it is at the front. It's just not stable when you're trying to deadlift with it. It would just be better to wear a flat toe shoe. All right, the last tip I have for you guys seems pretty basic, but a lot of people don't do it. Just have a proper warm up before you deadlift. A lot of people don't warm up enough on deadlift day, or they warm up too much. Either or is bad, but you need to work on stretching and mobility beforehand, and you want to do a slow increase up to your working set. Don't just jump from 130 pounds to 405 pounds. Like you want to take slow increments, but you also don't want to do too much. So let's say you're deadlifting 315 pounds for sets of 3 or whatever. First, you're going to want to stretch obviously and do mobility work. Make sure you're nice and warm and you can actually do the movement correctly. Maybe you'll start deadlifting at like 135 pounds for a couple, then 225 pounds, then 275, and then 315, as opposed to just going like 135 straight to 315. You're going to want to have those little jumps in between. You also don't want to have too many jumps. So let's say you go from 135 pounds to 185, to 225, to 275, to 315. That's like 5 or 6 sets of deadlifts you did before. You might even be fatigued for that main set. You want to be warmed up enough, but also refreshed where you can do the lift properly and have like solid reps at that weight. All right, so that's it for the video, guys. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like this video, leave a comment if I helped you. So hopefully this will help you add a couple pounds to your deadlift.